I appreciate you just for taking time out of your life. And I want you to know I value you and thank you for everything you've done for so many people and just our time that we had last night for empowering me and just believing me. And I love you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And where is Cheryl? Cheryl?
She's right back there. She's, yeah.
When Dan met Cheryl, he became very spiritual. He said, "The Lord is my shepherd. I see what I want."
but also says, in the presence of my enemies, that he prepares a table. You gotta watch what you invite to your table.
Yeah.
Les, what would you say are some of the biggest distraction that we as people allow to break our focus and momentum that we as people?
Relationships and the internet. This is a new instrument that we've never had, that algorithms can interrupt your thinking. It's behavioral marketing. Some of it is subliminal, where it goes past the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. I was online, and some of you have had the experience. You put in some information or something you look, and all of a sudden you see all type of commercials and things that's related to that. So we now are being programmed. So one of the most important things we have to do is what you have in this, what this is about. You got to focus on you and don't give up space in your mind for things that don't develop you, that don't inspire you and increase your sense of who you are and what you want to do with your life. You've got to be very particular and guard the gates of your mind and your eyes and what you see.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my favorite verses, Proverbs chapter 4:23. Guard your heart. Above all else, guard your heart.
You have to do that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. How did you kind of come to the faith? I know that you're a follower of Christ. How did that all, can you give us kind of a short kind of what led up to your decision making? We talked about mine.
My mother.
Okay.
Because I asked Mama, I said, "Mama, they want to interview you." Years ago, I had a television show, King World, paid me $5 million to do a talk show.
How long ago was that? Remember what year that was?
In the 80s. Now, I only know quotes.
Million.
When you're 80, you forget some things. I used to ask my mother, I said, "Mama," I said, "why you always ask me things that I mean, when I ask you things, you repeat them to me over and over again?" She said, "Because I wanted to get into your mind. Because faith comes by hearing and hearing." And she kept saying to me, "You are special." Because mom only had a third grade education. So when they said to her, "Your boy is educable, mentally retarded," she didn't understand what that meant. My mama believed a hard head means a soft behind. I'll whoop your behind till it roke like okra, So my mother thought my subconscious mind was in my behind.
I can relate to that too.
Sir. And so, but I remember a reporter asked her, "How did you know that you can raise 7 children as a single mother?" And she said, "I just believe the Lord will make a way somehow." That's how I attack everything. I believe we're not in this alone. He said, "I never leave you nor forsake you." I've had so many experiences that I know that God's hand has been on my life. I know I'm here because of his grace and mercy. Before I speak, my affirmation is more of thee, less of me. I know. And when we surrender to him, let that mind be in you. When we surrender to him, the possibilities is unlimited of what we can accomplish in life.
Amen. Well, we can see by your fruit that we can see that you've been very productive in your life. And has there gone back to one significant point in your life that actually really caused you to get into the speaking space and into development space and really genuinely caring for people?
When I was at this event and this guy said, "I represent the thoughts that you have rejected for yourself," I started doing a lot of reading, and there's a gentleman, he's out of Texas. And write this down: make your move before you're ready.
Make your move before you're ready.
Yeah, make your move before you're ready. Price Richard. And what got me in that statement, I had always said, well, I can go to college and I'm not good in books. I'm a person I learned by hearing, rather than reading. If you give me some information, I can work with it, okay? And so I saw the value of training my thinking. When I was working on Miami Beach with Mama, the neighbors would watch my brothers and sisters, the 6 of them, but Mama had to take me with her on Miami Beach on the weekend to work because they said that I was a little touched in the head. They said, baby, we'll keep the 6, but you got to take Leslie with you. And Mr. Sidursky, who he was a very talented man and very wealthy, and I would shine his shoes, and I didn't do a good job. And he said, Les, would you come back in here, and I want to see my face on these shoes. Do you understand me? I said, yes, sir. And his wife would say, don't talk to him like that. That's not nice. But I wanted him to do that because I didn't do a good job, so I can stay in there as he was listening to Earl Nightingale. We become what we think about. All of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. Winston Churchill, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end, there it is. So I wanted to be in that environment, and those words, they just felt strong to me. Always strive to be on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. A.L. Williams, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. But make sure you do all you can do.
Oh, that's worth writing down. Worth us writing down. Would you repeat that last?
Which one?
The one you just said about do all that you can do. I mean, hasn't there been a plethora of statements?
A.L. Williams, all you can do is all you can do.
Right.
But make sure you do all you can do.
Yes.
And most people don't because we've been conditioned to work on jobs. They pay us just enough to keep us from quitting, and we work just hard enough to keep from being fired.
And we settle for good enough.
Absolutely, because it becomes a habit. We form habits, and our habits create our future and builds our character. But at any moment, just like you had this moment, in the morning was 2:33?
2:33 in the morning.
Yeah,
3 nights in a row.
2:33. Yeah, 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
That was an intervention. We all have, but you listen. So we all have interventions. How many of you had experience and you were at a red light and the light changed and you heard a voice say, "Don't go," and then you didn't. And had you gone, then you would have been in an accident. Okay.
True.
Have you ever had an experience where it said, "If I just listened to my first mind"? Okay, we all have those. And so because of the distractions of life, we allow the world to drown out the voice that's in our heart that's giving us guidance. You listen to that voice. You had a choice, and you chose to do that, and you've honored that commitment to yourself. And that's why we're here, and the world is a better place because you made that decision.
Well, you make me better, too.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
You know, turn to your neighbor and say, "You make me better."
You make me better.
You make me better. If you could go back from the age you are now and go back and talk to yourself right around the age of 15, 16, what would be the best piece of advice that you'd give yourself in reflection of that?
The best advice I would give myself, my granddaughters asked me that question.
Okay.
And I would say, live your life the way you want to leave your life.
I think that's worth repeating and writing down, right?
Yes. Live your life the way that you want to leave your life. I was given a book, and this was written by a hospice nurse, and she said, the number one regret of the people who were dying that they had that came up often was, I didn't live the life that I wanted to live. And they regretted
I hear that a lot, right?
Yes. And so we have to be of good courage. Courage shows up in the Bible 42 times. Be of good courage. Nothing happens without courage. And you've got to decide that you're going to step away from the crowd. You've got to decide that I'm willing to go all in and do whatever is required. That you become a no matter what person. That you're going to do this no matter how difficult and challenging it's going to be. You will deal with turning that pain into purpose until you break through.
That's good. Do it now, do it now, do it now.
Yes.
Do it now.
Brian, yes, it's Brian Tracy.
Yes. Eat the frog. Do
Yes,
it now,
absolutely.
Do it now, do it now. I wrote that down. I actually got do it now 50 times right there by my desk.
Yes.
And I say it quite a lot where, because I was really good at procrastination. But just repeating that over and over and over, it's really helped me accomplish great things. So, Les, share a challenge you had to overcome to build the momentum for your career. I know a little bit about you being a DJ, if you could share that story. But if you kind of share that little part and how it kind of
Well,
moved
when I was a
momentum.
disc jockey, this is my pre-save years, okay? Look out, baby, this is me, LB Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before me, and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only, young and single and love to mingle, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man.
Okay, write all that down, okay? Oh boy! Can you give us a little backstory about that? How that? Because I love that story.
Yes.
How you got into that slot.
Well, but the thing about that chapter in my life, we have seasons, and this friend of mine said, Mike Williams, the road to your best stuff. He said, Brownie, you're better than this. I said, what do you mean? I'm #1 in Columbus, Ohio. He said, you're more than a disc jockey, just speaking to entertain people. You can empower people. You can inspire people. You make people feel good in the morning, man, with your yes, I can and yes, I will program. And that triggered something in me because I had respect for him. It's very important to surround yourself with people that you can learn from. I used to play chess a lot. I never played chess with someone that I knew I could beat. I always played chess with someone that was on another level because that would raise my game, all right? And so by the same token, what you're doing here is giving people a chance to be in relationship with people they can learn from, that they can grow from mentally and emotionally and spiritually, because your environment affects how you see yourself. And you're creating an environment where people can come together, and as a result of them connecting with each other and identifying with each other, where they look at somebody and say, if he can do it, I can do it, then that inspires them to become self-persuaded and hungry to live a better life, to create a better version of themselves. And that's what he did. He helped me to get on the road to my best self.
So was he kind of like one of your really first mentors that you really...
Yes, he did. Yes. And
was he older than you, or...?
2 years.
Okay.
We've been together for 52 years.
Wow.
But it's very important to have someone that can look at you and can see what you can't see. You can't read the label when you're in the box. Yeah,
Can't read the label
when you're in the box. No, yeah, that you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. There are things that we can do that we don't know because we've been in environments where people say, "Oh, you can't do that," and we believe them. And so so when you step outside of that, and this is why what you are doing here is so important, is that you're creating an environment that's transformative. When people come and hear your story and what you overcome and where you once were, and then you had an experience and that you just decided, convicted to honor that conviction within yourself, I'm going to be a different person. And there are people, things, and places that's off limits once you have a clear vision of what you want and a reason that's bigger than you, a commitment to a spiritual principle that says, I'm here to do the greater work.
That's good, isn't it? So, Les, at the age of 80, I'm 62, and I
you're still in diapers. Yes, all right.
At 80, and having spoken to nearly everywhere and across the world, who are some of your favorite speakers?
The person that I've admired for years, that Mr. Washington said, Mr. Brown, you want to be a disc jockey? I said, yes, sir. He said, lunchtime, I want you to bring your lunch to school and hear my car keys and go sit in my car at 12 noon.
Okay.
And listen to Paul Harvey. How many remember Paul Harvey?
Oh, yeah.
The rest of the
story.
He's a great communicator. I listened to Paul Harvey every week. I was in his car listening to him because I loved how he could tell a story. I met him my junior year.
Okay.
That was every year I was in special education, so I was never mainstream, which turned out to be a blessing because I was not subjected to the programming of the other
Oh, yeah.
kids. So I did not know enough to know. Let me share a story. You're going to appreciate this.
Okay.
I paid a guy who was a corporate executive for AT&T that I admired his level of achievement. He was the vice president of AT&T in Ohio. And I paid him to teach me how to speak to corporations. And then at the end of it, when I gave him a certified check, he said, "Can I be honest with you?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "I wouldn't hire you." I
What?
said, "Why, Ed?" He said, "Les, you're a nice guy, got personality." He said, "You're talking about earning more money in 1 hour than I earned working for a whole month. You're talking about earning $25,000 an hour? That's at this time, right? And 53 years ago, that was a lot of money."
Yeah. It's a lot of money in a month, in a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so he said, "Why don't you go back to radio, man? You're good in that." I said, "Thank you, Ed." His wife said, "We watched you go to the car with you and Mike." And I asked him, "Ed, do you think he's going to listen to you?" And he said, "No." And she said, "Why? He respects you. He looks up to you. He paid you to teach him how to do this. Why don't you think he will listen to you?" And he said, "He doesn't know enough to know he can't do it. So he's going to go for it anyhow."
Aren't you glad you did?
And I did.
Yeah.
And when I went back to Cleveland to speak, the Chamber of Commerce invited me. He was on the front row and he was looking at me like, "How the hell did you do this?" But I didn't know. All of us, according to the laws of aerodynamics, as you know, a bumblebee isn't supposed to fly because
Right.
its little puny wings can't hold up its body. But the bumblebee doesn't know it. Write this down. Sometimes you have to be intelligently ignorant. You don't know what you can't do. So you're willing to bet on you. You're willing to take a chance on you. You're willing to go all in and give it your best shot.
Wow.
Take no prisoners and eat the wounded.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to. You have
Yes.
to, especially these days. You have to, because nobody's coming to save you.
No,
nobody's going to come and
in
do
this
that.
era where the late Peter Drucker called the era of accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition, we've got to be willing to unlearn, learn, and relearn. We're where Einstein said, "The thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve." So the things that we've learned in the past, we've got to be willing to unlearn those things and commit to continuous ongoing learning, because this is a new environment to raise our level of knowledge so that we can be adaptable and versatile to fit in any type of environment. I spoke at a medical convention for a major pharmaceutical company, and I saw these signs around this room, and it was called the danger zone. So after I spoke, something said, "Stay and listen to these other speakers." And it was all doctors. I was the only one there that wasn't a doctor. And I was seated by the CEO. I said, "What is the danger zone? What is this about?" He said, "Well, we're teaching doctors how to communicate with their patients to strike fear in their heart. If they don't take their pills, they can have a stroke or heart attack." Now, how many speakers in here are coaches? Raise your hands, please. Listen to me closely. This is what made me stand out. The speaking industry has been governed by the thinking. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. No, here's what I teach. Never let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience needs to hear. So I asked him, "Do you have hypertension?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Why do you take your pills?" He said, "Because I want to live." Then why are you having a fear-based campaign? He said, "That's the point. Can you train doctors?" I said, "Absolutely." I got the contract. 1 month, 16 speeches, $240,000 $40,000.
Woo. And where was this at?
Well, it was. I spoke in Ohio, but they sent me all over the United States to train doctors,
Yeah.
including Switzerland. But here's the thing, and I don't share this with you to impress you, but to impress upon you. There are things that you can do that you don't know, and you've got to be willing to learn, to challenge yourself, to walk by faith, and not by sight. Some people say, if I see it, I believe it. No, if I believe it, I see it. You see it, and
True.
work from that place. You saw this place before you established it. I remember the story about Walt Disney when they built the facility out in California, and someone said, boy, it would have been great if Walt Disney had been here to see this. And then a person who had worked with him said, because he saw it, that's why we're here.
That's why they're there.
Yeah. And so this work that you're doing, causing people to focus on their vision, on your future self. Like at this stage, people say, I can't believe that you're 80. I say, well, I'm focusing on, one, I'm not going to be a burden to my children.
Yep,
They don't owe me anything. They didn't ask to be born.
Right.
So I'm focusing on being 80, 85, 90, 100. So I'm taking care of myself. I have an anti-burden to my children's strategy and anti-nursing home, because you go to a nursing home and then you go to the cemetery. No, I don't want to be around a lot of old people.
Right.
No.
No, true.
Yeah, yes. So what you're doing is giving people an opportunity to gather, to focus on their future self. This is major what you're doing. Harvard University did a 78-year study of 1%ers. They wanted to know what did they have in common that allowed them to accomplish their goals. And what they found in this reference group, they had a reference group. They had a group of people where they gathered and they met and they exchanged ideas. They brought the best out of each other. They inspired each other. And as a result of creating a community of greatness, a community that brought the best out of them, that is what allowed them to do things that ordinary people won't do. The majority of people, they follow the herd.
Yes.
As opposed to following their heart. You know, when you think about Robert Frost, two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and I selected the one less traveled by. The road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it. You are the few that you know there's something in you that you ought to do before you leave here.
Let's give him a round of applause for that. So, you know, even being at the age you are with the knowledge and the applied knowledge which is turned into wisdom, do you still find time to read and to write? And
Yeah, I read a minimum of 2 to 3 books a month.
wow.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy it because I never wanted to be an issue or a liability that I don't have a college education.
Right.
Yeah, that if I believe whatever you're doing, if you work for a corporation, provide more service than you get paid for.
Oh, yeah.
When I was in radio, I was the morning personality. I was the production manager. I did commercials, and I taught others how to get on the air, do the news. I also did the news, the Associated Press. I would tear it off and read it. I did 5 different jobs, and I wasn't paid just for one job. And they said, why you want to do this? I said, well, it's because if this ends, I can apply these skills in other industries. So
True.
As a result of my willingness to continue to learn, we are here to serve. We have an expiration date. Nobody's figured out how to get out of here alive, all right?
right.
And so what I decide to do, the reason that we have an increase in dementia and Alzheimer's, that most people have settled. I talked to a friend of mine. I said, man, what's going on with you? He said, well, I see you all over the internet. I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, I've lived my life. I said,
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that you could have telephone privileges after you take a dirt nap in the cemetery
that's
and
right.
get on the phone and talk to your friends. I said, you still on the phone? You still got a pulse? Talking about you have lived
Right.
your life? No, come on, man. He said, what you think I ought to do? I said, you figure that out. If it's serious to you, if you decide the time that I'm here, I'm going to make it work for me. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Just get busy.
Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6.
Yes, sir.
Yep, they're one of my favorites. So do you have down days? I mean, and not so much as, due to age, but what do you do when you start feeling less than less?
Well, let me tell you, how many of you have children? Raise your hands, please. Let me tell you something. My youngest boy, bipolar schizophrenic, and brilliant, my youngest boy. And I got a call from an attorney. Hello, Ms. Les Brown? Yes. Are you looking at your emails? I said, yes. You have an email from me. I'm representing your son. And the email said, your service is no longer needed. And I was fired. I said, bipolar, no bipolar, you about to make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here.
Yeah.
And what got me was I'm able to motivate people around the world, and my son can't hear my voice. That was so devastating for me. I said, Lord, he can't hear me. And fortunately, I have a friend who I trained that he didn't know I trained this guy. They became friends, and he could hear his voice, but he couldn't hear my voice. And he helped me to get my son back. But that was a struggle. When something happened to your children, it happens to you too. True. Am I correct? Yes. And that was beyond me. Mental illness is real. It's real. And so I needed some help. And this man called me and said, man, I met your son. He told me he's running for governor of California. He changed his name to Les Brown Jr. I said, what? I got to sit in. He was going to come down to be here, but now he's a father. He's very responsible. But it took a minute for him to get there. But during that time, I had to manage, protect my heart and my sanity because the children have their own journey. The prodigal son's father never went after him.
That's right.
And so I had to stand and trust and believe that everything's going to work out fine. Not my will, but thy will be done. Shadrach, Meshach, and a bad Negro. I love this scripture. Excuse me. If it be so, my God is able to deliver us, but if not, I still won't bow.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep. So the last thing for the time that we have left, when you hear seek, knock, and ask, I know how I kind of interpret that. I know how other people interpret that. But when you hear those words, seek, knock, and ask, what would you say to those three words? Or when you hear those, and you've heard them many times, and you've shared those words many times, what do you think when you hear those?
What I think is, in terms of seek, is get still and ask, why am I here? It's been said the two most important days in our lives, the day that we're born and the day we realize why we were born. Mark Twain. Why am I here? Before I came up here, I said, more of thee, less of me. I'm here to serve you. Those 3 days, you got a glimpse of the future you. And you've been about your Father's business of manifesting that higher vision of what you saw, okay? Seek. Do we go to the next one? Knock.
Seek, knock, and ask.
Yes, knock is that life is always about serving notice to the next level of your life.
Wow.
What am I going to do now? You don't want to rest on your laurels. You can better your best. And so, and when you are seeking and you're looking for new things to do, like I'm training, my goal is to train people how to tell their story, how to create an experience with their story. The reason that I feel that one of the most important things we can do to help people to realize that how to make their lives irreplaceable. Because artificial intelligence can't look at you and say, you have greatness in you. Let me tell you what I've gone through. I've been where you are now. Artificial can't do that. Artificial intelligence cannot create identification, relatedness, and connectedness. So that's what we have. What we have to do is what you have created a facility to let people know you are, as Og Mandino would say, an unrepeatable miracle. You were chosen by God to do the greater work. Life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you. The way how I see that right now is when I was seeking, Les Brown, you saw me. You got on a Zoom call and you saw me. When I was knocking, you opened the door. And when I asked, you said yes. So I thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart, brother. May God continue to bless you.
And thank you for asking me. This is my brother from another mother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Let's give him a round of applause. Let's stand. Thank you.